My name is Kareem, and I still remember that night as clearly as if it were happening in front of me now. The neighborhood was quiet, the streetlights still humming softly in the cool air, and I was sitting alone at my dining table staring at the unpaid electricity bill. Life had been breaking me slowly, not with loud crashes, but with silent disappointments. I had lost my job 3 months earlier and had spent most of my days trying to convince myself that everything would soon turn around. Yet on that night, at exactly midnight, there was a knock at my door. Soft, but steady. When I opened it, my 38-year-old neighbor, Sophia, stood there with tired eyes and clasped hands. She looked as if she had been holding 1,000 unspoken words for a long time. I did not know it then, but in just 10 minutes, she would change my life forever. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Heart of a Father. Your support helps keep stories of real human hearts and redemption alive. The sun had been shining warmly earlier that day, but my mood had not matched the brightness outside. I had spent the daylight hours sitting on my balcony, staring at the street I grew up on. Children ran, neighbors chatted while sweeping the front of their houses, and life seemed to move smoothly for everyone except me. My hands had begun to shake every time I opened my bank app. I tried to smile, tried to pretend I was not losing control, but inside, I felt like a glass left on the very edge of a table. One small touch and everything would shatter. I had grown up in that neighborhood, everyone knew me, and I had always been the person who helped others. Yet I could not bring myself to let anyone know how difficult things had become. Pride can turn into a silent prison when you are afraid to be seen weak. Sophia had moved next door nearly a year earlier. She lived alone with her daughter, a 7-year-old named Zara who always wore a sky blue ribbon in her hair. I often saw them in the daytime walking to school, laughing, or carrying grocery bags together. Sophia always seemed calm and composed, though there was a quiet sadness in her eyes that I had never fully understood. We would exchange polite greetings, nothing more. I never guessed she had noticed the way my life had started to fall apart the night she knocked on my door. I had not eaten since morning. The fridge held only a bottle of water and some stale bread. The kitchen light flickered each time I turned it on. The house was silent, the kind of silence that makes you aware of your own heartbeat. When I heard the knock, I thought I imagined it at first. I considered ignoring it. The truth is, I did not want to face anyone. I felt ashamed of how far I had fallen. Yet something in that soft knock compelled me to open the door. Sophia stood there in a long gray sweater and modest white scarf, her hair partially tucked beneath it, her face washed in the pale glow of the hallway light. She looked nervous, as if she was struggling to find words. I stepped aside and she entered slowly, her eyes scanning my living room. She was not judging. She was noticing. There is a difference. Her gaze landed on the electricity bill on the table, then on the empty counter, then on the dim lights. She finally sat down and gently placed an envelope before me. I felt confusion and discomfort rise in me. My pride tugged at me to refuse, to reject, to push back. I had always believed in standing on my own feet. Accepting help felt like losing control of everything I had worked for. Sophia told me that she had overheard a phone conversation I had with a loan office a few days earlier. She had been coming home with groceries when I was speaking too loudly on my porch, frustrated, trying not to break. She remembered my voice shaking. She said she recognized the tone because she had once spoken in the same way. She had struggled too, years ago, when she arrived in the city after escaping a painful marriage. She told me she had once given up everything she had to protect her daughter and start over. She worked 2 jobs and ate less than she gave her child, sometimes skipping meals completely. She explained that no person climbs out of hardship alone. Someone somewhere had helped her too. Now, it was her turn to help someone else. She was offering not just money, but trust, dignity, and quiet understanding. She did not speak with pity. She spoke with sincerity. That made the difference. She did not see me as broken. She saw me as someone facing a difficult season. There is a kindness that does not make you feel smaller. Instead, it makes you feel seen. As she spoke, something inside me loosened. I had been holding back tears for months. The exhaustion, the fear, the confusion, everything I had been holding and slipped through. I cried silently, shoulders shaking. Not because I felt weak, but because I felt relief. She waited quietly, letting me release everything without asking me to explain. There are moments in life when words are unnecessary. Presence is enough. When I finally gathered myself, she gave me the envelope. It was enough to cover my bills for the next 2 months. I asked how I could possibly repay her. She smiled gently and said that repayment is not always about giving back to the same person. Sometimes it is about passing kindness forward when the time comes. Her words settled inside me like sunlight breaking through heavy clouds. The next morning, I woke up earlier than I had in weeks. The first rays of daylight spilled across the floor, and for the first time in a long while, I felt steady. There was purpose in my step. I cleaned the house, shaved, made tea with the last remaining tea leaves, and opened my laptop. I began applying for jobs again, this time not out of desperation, but with a sense of hope. It is astonishing how a single act of compassion can revive something you thought was gone forever. Over the next week, I worked hard. I printed resumes, visited offices, emailed companies, and even went to job fairs I had previously avoided because of fear of rejection. Each morning, I would see Safia and Zara walking to school in the daylight, and each time, Safia would give a small encouraging nod. It was a simple gesture, yet it strengthened me. On the 8th day, I got a call from a manufacturing firm I had applied to. They needed someone to manage inventory and quality control. It was not the same type of job I had before, it was different. But it was stable, fair paying, and honest work. They asked me to come in for training the next day. When I hung up, I felt something I had not felt in months. Direction. Life began to settle into new patterns. I woke early, walked to work in the clear daylight, and returned home tired but with a sense of accomplishment. I could afford groceries again. I could pay the bills. I could breathe. The weight of despair lifted slowly but noticeably. I also started spending more time with Zara. She loved drawing birds and clouds, always using blue and white tones. Safia would bring tea to the balcony when the sun was warm, and we would sit together in quiet comfort. We did not talk about the night she helped me. We did not need to. Gratitude sometimes does not need to be spoken aloud to be understood. Months passed, and I grew stronger. One afternoon, as sunlight poured across the street in a warm, steady glow, I saw a neighbor struggling to carry heavy grocery bags. Without thinking, I walked over and helped. It happened naturally. Kindness had begun to flow through me as freely as it once flowed to me. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heart of a Father. Your presence keeps these stories alive. Before we close, I have a special request. Comment below the words "Kindness lives on" so we know you were here, and that your heart is open to giving and receiving compassion.